host, Sean McCann. Greetings and welcome to Wake the Dead. Today we have a special guest, Chance Garton, and he's here from the Innerverse Podcast, which he's been producing for over 5 years now. He is a aura mechanic with sound healing, and he's a visual artist, versatile in many ways. He can explain to us his medium and how he likes to express his art. And welcome, Chance. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here, Sean. And got to shout out Matt Landman.
Yeah.
He is a great connector. He's been helping me get with all kinds of awesome people. So always appreciate him. Whenever he introduces me to somebody, there's always some great sync that comes from that.
Right. I agree. And I think we're both blessed to be friends with Matt Landman. And I'm so thankful that I've met him. And it's, it like things are, as we just be ourselves and we express our greatness to each other, like the worlds open up, and like he knows that you're good, he knows I'm good, he says, hey, you guys should talk. And I think that's a great thing. And I thank you, Matt. If you're listening, this is this is all because of you, man. Thank you. Yeah. So tell us about your art. You've been doing art for how long?
Well, you could say since I was a kid, but there was a big gap where I let myself believe I wasn't creative anymore. I think a lot of us do that. And I had a big breakthrough experience. Won't lie, there were psychedelics involved where all of a sudden it just like downloaded back into my brain. I think around the age of 23, 22, that, oh yeah, I used to draw all the time when I was a kid. I used to make pictures. I used to really get into that. And when that hit me, all like a ton of bricks, I sort of frantically started trying to get myself back into creating. And it had occurred to me that the emptiness that I was feeling in my early 20s after getting through college and doing the university hoops that everybody wanted me to do, that the void within was really helped and filled with creating. It didn't matter even I needed to create something. It didn't matter what. So I started out with like really, I mean, in my opinion, quite juvenile, like using Sharpies, attempting to just express things that I found to be cool. But over time that evolved, and now I've got like a really intense process, still using markers, but like maybe more professional artist grade markers. I kind of consider it to be like a Where's Waldo style, where I just jam in so much stuff into one image that you could look at it for ages to try to find everything. Actually, one of the recent ones I completed, I put Waldo in there.
That's great. That's great.
So I do that, and sometimes I dabble in painting, and I also am big into digital art because of the show. I've had to really I haven't had to, but one of the things I enjoy about the podcast is creating graphics for the cover art, for backgrounds. And so that then blossomed into video visuals where I make visualizers, and I put that in with the end of a show with a song of choice for that week. And like, actually, I'm pretty excited about it because I sort of elevated to a new point over the weekend on this big full moon that happened yesterday. I had on my YouTube and Rockfin channels, I did a full moon dance party where I spent hours putting together video graphics and did a very amateur, but I think it turned out good, like DJ mix of, I wasn't DJing live, but I made a mixtape of sorts.
Put it together. Yeah.
And I put the visuals with that, and I went live, and a bunch of my people showed up, and we had a dance party, and it was super fun. And I acted real crazy. You can see me in the bottom left corner dancing like a madman with the fun graphics. It was super, super lit, very psychedelic.
That's great that you could bring the good vibes through the computer to people, like instead of being at a dance party doing like, art or something like live, with music and stuff, you can bring the DJ to them. It's pretty good. I like that. And
Yeah, I love what you said. Bring the good vibes. That's my whole mission, actually. And
right.
when I started the podcast 5, 6 years ago, is at the end of 2015.
Yep.
My real goal at that time was to bring the magic that I found when I was visiting music festivals in my 20s back to the quote unquote real world
Right.
and try to like translate the inspiration that we feel when we're connected to a bunch of creative people across a
Yeah.
variety of mediums and we're gathered outside of the cities and we're in nature and we're just in flow and having so much fun expressing
Yeah.
ourselves and witnessing each other that was the goal. And I started out interviewing mostly artists and musicians, and it was more of a Joe Rogan experience type thing with very loose, no format.
Hmm.
But over time, it evolved because I am fascinated with metaphysics, and then that became a fascination with the occult, and then it turns out that spiritual work turns you to conspiracy. If it's authentic spiritual examination of yourself, you will
Right.
bump into conspiracy. And the inverse is true too. Authentic conspiracy research will lead you to spiritual development. So,
Right.
and that's something that my friend Michael Tessarion says really well. Conspiracy work is spiritual. So we could
Right.
call it conspirituality. I don't know who made up that term, but I first heard it from Cheney, from Project Cheney. And so I
Nice.
totally own that label. I think that's great. But since 2020 happened, everything got real upside down, and
Right.
the emphasis had to go pretty deep onto conspiracy for a while, and I had to come out of the closet and just be like a full-fledged truther type podcast.
Right.
So to bring back the good vibes segment, I mean, I still think I inject some positive perspectives into even the conspiracy talks. I don't
Of
want to
course.
do any conversation where I don't have some kind of solution or uplift to bring to
Right.
it. But I started a second show this year called Vibe Rant, like vibrant, but we
Yeah.
vibe and we
Yeah.
rant. It's a
Right.
live show on Wednesday nights, and that's kind of more in the spirit of the original thing I did, but we also get audience participation and we have call-ins and people share memes or video clips and I put them on the screen.
That's great. What night is that again?
Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Central on my YouTube channel and Rockfin. And then I post the replays in other spots too, but
And
it's really worth catching live. You can even
that's
call in.
Innerverse is your YouTube channel. Is
Yeah,
that how they
but you
can
should
find it?
probably go to my website to find it because I'm
Please would.
significantly shadow banned on YouTube where you can type in Innerverse
Oh, right.
Podcast and like the name of a guest specifically, and you will
Yeah.
be scrolling for 30 minutes before you
Right.
finally reach that video.
Well, please tell us your website here.
Yeah, innerversepodcast.com.
That's
Just like
easy.
that. Yeah.
That's easy. All right.
I think if you
Let's
just
hope.
Googled Innerverse, you'll still find that because despite the other forms of shadow banning, I still have the SEO thing figured out for search results.
Great. That's good. Yeah, it's like it's a fine line. You gotta dance the technology to so, and then you don't want to be the mole that gets whacked. You want to be able to pop up and say your truth and then be able to disappear again before they fucking whack you down.
Yeah, I think
Um,
the shadow banning is when you're really over the target where they won't straight up martyr you
yeah.
because they don't want it to draw the attention.
Right.
They want
Yeah.
you to look a little sketchy to the rest of the truth community because you're not fully cut
Right.
off from their channels. But I'm so shadow banned. Like it was a huge celebration to after 5 years reach 3,000 YouTube subscribers,
Wow.
which I did this weekend actually.
That's
That was
great.
part of what I was celebrating. And
That's great.
yeah, it's been an awesome year. I actually started with, I think I tripled the reach of the show this year. So that has a lot to do with cool apps like Telegram that give us a social media that isn't censored and isn't filled with all this advertising and corporate
Right.
bullshit. And so we have a really raging community on Telegram for Innerverse that is worth jumping into. I think
And
my
they
room's
find
the
that
party
by
room.
just searching Innerverse on Telegram.
Probably. And there's links to all that on the main.
Links on that on your website.
Yeah, everything's on there.
That's good. That's great. So you've been able to, that's great. You've been able to build a community that trusts you and wants to hear more of you. That's really a beautiful thing. And
Telegram was
I'm
crucial
glad
for
for
that
you.
because you got to have a place where people can land so that
Right.
not only can they connect with you, but they
Right.
can connect with each other
Right.
on the things that you're about. So
Right.
that was clutch. I just get such a kick out of seeing the convos, even when I don't have time to
Yeah.
engage with the Telegram, to see my people all like getting along and doing
Right.
the good vibes thing. I'm like,
Yeah,
yes,
totally.
we're
I
doing
found
it.
that in Discord chats too, where there's like because people they all gather to the one Discord because they all agree on this thing, you know. Probably the same with Telegram. Like, it's not like Facebook where you just see random stuff from everything, you know. It's
I
more
started on
focused.
Discord, but Telegram seemed to take off better. I think
Yeah,
maybe it's the simplicity of the functionality
right.
that
I heard
helped.
Discord is also doing more censorship of
Oh
different.
yeah, they're deplatforming people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yep. As
So
James Evan Pilato on Media Monarchy calls them, Dick Sword is
Dick
not to be
Sword.
trusted.
Right. Yeah, I listen to him every day. That's
Hell
great.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's for real, man. It's for real.
He's
So
hilarious.
yeah, that too. And that
I
he
steal
helps
all
to
his
keep the
jokes.
good vibes. That he helps keep the good vibes, like even on Thursdays when he's like talking the deep nar as he calls it, of
Narnar
like,
Thursday.
yeah,
Yeah.
dude. But he's still like, you know, he'll tell you about like dead babies and stuff, but you're not gonna cry about it. He's gonna like put it into context where you can actually kind of laugh. Like, it's an art, I think, and that dude's really a real artist there for that. So so you've been doing this podcast for 5 years, and you've been doing painting and markers, and you've been like growing as a person. I guess this is like your growth process, and now you've become who you are today. You're going to be better tomorrow, probably. And um, you know, that's great to see, and I'm glad that you're so enthused by your journey. That's really a beautiful thing, and that just that in itself will keep the good vibes. You know, if people can, because it's tough out there, man. People are down on themselves, and you know, it's like dark clouds everywhere, you know, and like everybody's trapped in these fucking terrible realms in their mind, you know, and who knows if they're being attacked from other realms, you know, other entities, or if it's just like the the uh the world around us, the Satanists that are pushing all this evil shit into our heads every day with the TV and the news and the, you know what I mean? It's tough to like keep your spirits up above water, you know, without getting dragged down into the mire. It's really
Yeah, I call the age of Pisces that we're coming out of, or have come out of, the age of delusion, or the deluge, you know,
right.
because the flood of,
Submerged.
yeah,
Yeah.
people's heads are completely underwater with,
Right.
yeah, they can't even catch a breath. So
Right.
I'm here to definitely bring some fire and dry out some water, get some people breathing again. The thing is that all of what you just described is two things that are actually the same thing. It's worldview poisoning, and
Yes.
it's self-image, like self-esteem poisoning.
Right.
But that's actually the same thing, because when you like really go the deepest you can into yourself, in the innerverse, if you will, you
Hmm.
recognize, or you will realize, the inner outer world reflection, that all is actually self, in the sense that the I am is the same in every being that exists across the realm and in any dimension, that there's only one life force energy, and that what's multiple is the vessels that carry it. And there's a lot of variety of vessels to carry the life force energy, but that
Right.
actual life force itself is self-existent, self-evident, eternal, no beginning, no end. This is the supreme being. This is the verb that is the creator, or the creative intelligence of the
Right.
cosmos. And that very same essence, is that divine spark, is in us. So the
Right.
key is to become a vessel that holds it in a shape where it expresses itself in a coherent manner, instead of in a distorted
Right.
manner. So yeah,
Right.
getting
That's very
coherent.
well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. And the way that, and the attack on us is a way is they're trying, the Satanists again are trying to uh like distort the lens that light comes through, so that we are fucked up when we try to express that light. Like, we can't express it properly because we've been so devolved and destroyed by the constant attack, you know, like um the hospital birth, like right at the beginning of life, they attack us on all levels, and then later in
They get
life,
mom and
like,
dad to do
to
it
get
for them.
education, exactly, right. And then I've talked about that in my circumcision episodes, where if they can convince the mother and father to go against their instincts of their maternal and paternal instincts and just give the baby up, and they know what's happening, and it's a blood ritual, and the authority wants the baby, got to give it away, like what are you going to do? Like if they can get that in a slave, then they're totally owned. It's a proof positive that they're totally owned. um and then they can do whatever. But it's like it's an initiation for them, to like that way the priest knows that they can trust them, because the programming that was given to them by the owners was effective and they know it works. Like if the person holds on to their natural instinct of protect and love, then they're like, oh shit, we lost these people, they're not in the cult. you know
Yeah, and they'll leave you alone because of a
Hopefully.
lot of reasons. But first of all, they're really
Right.
interested in the low hanging fruit, and second
Right.
of all,
Just like all
any
predators.
yeah, the predators have to respect the laws of nature.
That's
So
true.
consent is the first and foremost law of nature, or
That's right.
freedom is
Free
actually a better
will.
way to put it.
Right.
Free will is
Yeah.
inviolate. It cannot be. It
Right.
cannot be violated. So they always have to farm you for your consent.
Right.
And the fact is, whenever you null contract, even just internally with a lot of these forces and energies, then all of a sudden you're like in Legend of Zelda, the mirror shield, it just bounces back on them, whatever
Right.
external attack comes in. But we got to get our vessel into integrity for that to
Mm.
really work, because
Mhm.
otherwise you're inviting them in all the time, and it doesn't matter if like over here you maybe you
Right.
block this, but you let the vampire in, it's puncturing you. It's all
Right.
about like human
There's
beings right now
there's
are in a
so many
state that
levels too. There's like it attacked the Go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, yeah, human beings are just in a state right now, and have been for a while, that we are extremely leaky with psychic energy. Let
Hmm.
Like it comes in and it goes out of us in a very uncontrolled way. So,
Right. We've been
uh,
cultivated to do it like that, though. You know what I
yes,
mean? Like the Native Americans and stuff had powers that could control that shit. And then like the Europeans, the British monarchy came and stomped all that out, and they fucking destroyed all of the shamans, and like all of the natural, like the knowledge of self that we have that's given to us. Like the shaman is the teacher of the other realm, so that the members of society can know themselves, as humans. And if you destroy that and you deracinate people from their natural state, and then you can like tell them they don't even have a gender, and they're like, oh really, I guess whatever. They're, if they have nothing to stand on, then they're total slaves. You can just you know play with them, mockery, and just we're toys to them when we're at that state of stupidity and slavery.
deracinate is a new word for me.
Oh, it means to like tear you away from your roots.
I like that. I'm a word guy, so
Oh
I
yeah.
want to look into that word more. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
It's, I mean, like our roots is our power, you know what I mean? And when we're torn away, we just fly away in the wind, you know what I mean? We're just helpless. So like the family is our roots, and our like, you know, our family line, and like the culture that we come from. Like if they can destroy that and tear that all away, like what Mao did with, killing anything that's old, like destroying anything that's old, like that was the attack on our roots and like our power. It's taking away our power. Like if we don't build on our roots, then we won't um we won't have any power at all. I guess it's tough for me to explain, but I think you get the
No,
idea.
I get you.
Mhm.
So where I'm at least in the journey I've been on, is that I don't dispute that there's like these attacks from the outside, but the key for me is that all of that shit is an offer.
Oh,
They're
right.
offering, like, would you like to be attacked by us?
Yeah, it's
And
true.
you take the offer, that's
Yeah,
fine. If
yeah.
you want to go on that ride of like
Hmm.
boogeyman, scary, hurting me, all their fault. But
Right.
when you just take radical responsibility for where you're at, including the attacks that you've allowed to happen up to that point, it changes everything. It
Right.
redirects the whole flow of the situation, because you may not elevate yourself to a new level of health and strength instantaneously, but mentally you have already flipped the switch that will take you in the direction that you wanted to go.
Sovereignty, really.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Um, so that's an important thing. And I've spoken to previous guests about uh, demons, if you will, and the way that they attack. And we spoke about how schizophrenics are most likely tortured by these spirits, and the way that they operate is they give you a suggestion. It's like in your mind you can choose to be to feel bad, and that's what they feed on. They want that energy of your sorrow and your despair and shit. Like that's the fuel for them. So they give you this suggestion that, you're not good enough and they don't love you and you should hurt yourself, and like those kind of thoughts that aren't really your thoughts. And these people get tortured by this. And but then, like, we also talked about other, well, we don't need to go into that, but basically the way that, I mean, it is
I would like to go into that because I think I could shed a bunch of light on it.
please, let's, okay, well, sure. What are you thinking right now, after what
Well,
I
you're
just
talking
said?
about demons, schizophrenia.
Right.
There's someone I
Sure.
like to listen to made a really interesting point yesterday. Seven Bomar. He said that when you call things demons, it's like calling all black people the N-word. It's like you're describing a type of being that there's a bunch of them, and there's like some that are one way and some that are another way. And
Right.
we're just talking about basically,
Well, I was talking about the ones that were parasiting off of us.
yeah,
So those we
no.
could probably
I'm
give
not
them.
disputing that exists. And even
Okay.
to like get into the etymology of why we call it a demon, that's divided. Whenever you like put the DE in front of something, it's the opposite of that, the undoing of that, or the dividing of that, the cutting it in half. So
Mm.
the demon is the divided man, daimon. And
Oh,
it's not always a bad thing. There's like some aspects of the daimon that could be a spiritual guide,
mhm.
a guardian, or some people conceptualize it as the one holding the controller, playing the video game that you are the
Right.
character for, if you
Like
want to look at it that
your
way.
holy guardian angel. Right.
Yeah, and see, I don't make that
I mean, you
distinction
don't have to
myself. I
be
go
like
ahead and
Christian
just
or
I
whatever,
go in
but the
with the
idea, like, go
yeah,
ahead.
I go in with the idea that we have a higher self, yes, and that's like a more total version, a more total aspect of ourself, or
Right.
supreme being,
Your
which
true
is the
will, right. Your true will comes down through that. Like, is that what you're trying to say?
yeah, supreme being would just be the unfiltered,
Right.
uncorrupted version of self that
Right.
exists before.
The soul
And
you above that is animating the person living, or like, the flesh. The
yeah,
soul.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
So I might need some room to talk about this idea because there's a
All
lot
right.
of
I'll
there's a
try
lot
to.
of
I'll mute my mic. Go
there's a lot of
ahead.
aspects of this, right? So first of all, I got to begin by explaining further what I think are what we are in terms of a system of a body and energy, a vessel. The So the vessel that we are holds life force energy that I already described. Is You could call it ether, you could call it electricity. There's really only one force of energy whenever you get to the root of it, and then it can take on forms variable based on the container that it's in, or the type of plasma that it's moving as. And in our bodies, we have not only the electrical energy that animates the physical body, lets us move our fingers and toes and be strong physically, but there's the field around us, the what is called in spiritual traditions the aura, what the author Eileen Day McCusick refers to as the biofield. And she's actually developed a really interesting theory called the Biofield anatomy hypothesis, which isn't that far off from concepts like the Vedic chakras, but expanded into a type of like chart and system that you can look at and read. And so that I can know whenever I'm doing a session with a client, they come to me and they present with lower back pain, and I can just instantly know that they are the type of person that lets other people kind of walk all over them and does everything for people without being able to say no very easily. And there's all these very, very specific links, and this is what makes it an anatomy of types of emotional problems or hardships or even physical pain spots or organ issues that directly correlate to mindsets and behavioral patterns or trauma from a certain time of your life. Now, when we do experience the traumas of life that we do not want to face or accept or integrate into our life story, or they're just too hard for us because we feel so threatened by the experience, even though it may be in the past, there's a part of ourself, you could call it the protective part of yourself. Because there's many layers. We are like an onion. Right. And this protective layer of self, its entire job is whenever it senses something that it thinks is too much for you to handle, it's going to hide that, sweeps it under the rug, metaphorically. So
that's the function that happens with SRA victims with the splitting of their personality. It's like
that's the function that's exploited by SRA. Yes.
Okay.
Massively. And when this is taken to the extreme, you actually will get the schizophrenic, because these, like, okay, think about Satanism, cults, corporations, militaries in general. This operates in the external world the exact same way as it operates in our field, through compartmentalization. Compartmentalization is the block of flow of life force energy. And
that happens in hierarchy too, right?
Yes. And cybernetics, which is the buzzword of our time, it actually means the control and influence over living systems with artificial systems. And this is done through inserting feedback loops or inserting stimulus that creates a circular feedback loop. Just like every messed up cosmology or worldview or anything like religion that's dogmatized, you have to create self-referential feedback loop of, at the end of the day, it's like, because I said so. That's the answer to why. There's like, and it always just comes back to like one point, and this is the entry point of the trauma or of the dogma. So in a healthy flow, the way nature is meant to operate on the big side of the fractal or in our field, it's all about what I call communication webs instead of feedback loops. Or there's, I don't know if I always call it communication webs, but it's more of a web where every point actually is meant to connect to every other point.
Like Indra's net. Like there's jewels on the net. Yeah.
That's kind of a good conceptualization, but it's even more interconnected than that, because even a web isn't the perfect description, but I am envisioning how, like, say there's something that goes wrong with one of your organs and it sends the signal to 12 different parts of your body that all have something to do with detoxing that issue or healing that issue. Oh. So there's not really a circular loop. There's not a cybernetic control system that all has to be routed through CPU. Brain isn't the thing that runs everything in the body. The body is a holistic intelligence. You could call it a network. And, and so it's a decentralized network when it's operating properly. It is a feedback loop mechanism when it's been influenced by cybernetic control methods. And so that's why, like, what's being set up for the people with their cowpokes and, their need for constant boosters and updates is that you only get health with this one mechanism, this one external injection. And that's what controls your health and keeps it going. Although obviously it's the opposite. It's a negative feedback loop.
And that's what Satanists are going to use, the opposite every time. Like,
invert life. Yeah,
exactly.
Evil is lived backwards. Exactly.
Yes.
So whenever we have extreme trauma, this is natural to everybody, to the point where we have to fully reject the experience. We actually create what you call an ego state within our field. And this is more rare, but it is something that can happen to the point where in the psychic realm, in the astral realm, you could call it, on the mental plane, which is the primary plane or the realm of imagination, is what this realm is an emanation from. Like your body is in your mind is not in your body. And this is key to know. In that, on that plane, these ego states, it could be like you as an 8-year-old whenever your dog got killed by another dog in front of you. And so it caused you to forget everything about that version of yourself as an 8-year-old that you needed to forget so that you wouldn't constantly think about what happened to your dog,
Right.
or that you're scared of dogs. Now,
Yeah.
on the psychic plane, this ego state is like a miniature copy of you from that age. And it essentially loops and relives that exact experience eternally. Right. And because it is created from your psychic energy and it's now compartmentalized and split off from the rest of your energy field, you now have, like, instead of 100%, you have 90% or whatever it would be.
Oh, I see.
And so this diminishes our capacity for selfhood. This diminishes our capacity to know who we truly are and what we're here to do. And there's more aspects of this, but I'm just specifically talking about to address the schizophrenia, because this is what leads to schizophrenia. Many of these ego states created, some can become strong enough to actually attempt to take the wheel because of the body and switch.
That's where the DID happens, the dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah,
MPD, multiple personality, whatever.
A good book about this is called Soul-Centered Healing by Dr. Tom Zinser. That's a really, like, I've definitely experienced and learned about this from a variety of sources, but that's one of the better ones. He was a hypnotherapist for many years who actually started figuring out methods to talk to people's ego states and reintegrate them to their body. But it was very complicated. It required hypnotherapy and difficult communication styles of, like, you know, tapping or finger wagging. Like, you couldn't directly talk to it. You'd have to ask yes or no questions.
Finger wagging, like Danny from Shining. When he's talking to his split personality because he was put into trauma, and he's like talking to his fingers.
I gotta watch The Shining. Everyone just says, like,
you've never seen it. Oh my god,
it comes up all. You have no idea how much it comes up.
So Danny, I'm sorry, but the kid is traumatized, and he has a split personality named Tony that lives inside of him. And when he talks to Tony, he wags his finger. That makes, I mean, I never heard that before, and you just told me that, and it makes sense to me.
Yeah, like, Zinser would hypnotize people, and then because they're kind of like out of it in this state, he would he'd try to find the ego states inside of them, or the alter personalities. Ego states and alter personalities, there's a range to how extreme they can be. They can be like little and not very influential, and
like a mood swing type stuff.
And then they can go from that to a full degree of like an alter personality. And so he would be talking to them, they'd be conked out. He'd ask them questions, and they would do, like, hold up one finger for yes, or whole hand for no, or whatever, things like that. And that was how he communicated. And now in that process, he also ran into what you would consider externals that were influencing the being, and they had got into the person that were, ride-alongs, hitchhikers, and that is interesting too. But what is important to know about this is that we have all the capability to protect ourselves from any of that, or to integrate any of that stuff without needing to get complicated and, talk to the alter personality or know the name of the demon to stop it.
What this dude was doing was trying to learn all the aspects of it. That's why he was doing all this stuff. Maybe he was healing at the same time, but he was interested in understanding the phenomenon. So that's why all this. Okay.
Yeah, so he had an interesting story. He even, like, there was a channeled entity that helped him understand it, and like his receptionist, I believe, just out of the blue started channeling this entity named Gerard, who was able to give him specific information about his clients and how to deal with them. And he'd be like, okay, Molly has an ego state of an 8-year-old. Just ask her about the red shoes, and it'll bring that ego state to the stage, and you can help her integrate it. So
that's interesting. And
now whenever we have, like, most people probably don't have significant splintering like that. It is more rare. So it's not like I want people to go looking inside to try to figure out where my alter personalities are. You probably don't have them, but it is possible to have. There may be inner demons of a sort going on, and I'll explain that, because it all functions on this concept of compartmentalization, and with why I think that it can be dealt with more simply without needing to go through all the, like, it's fun to get into the complexities of this, but that also is part of a mindset that addresses it from the phase of like, well, this is how I'm broken and broken,
Right.
compartmentalized. It's the same idea.
And that
Now,
feeds the negativity, which ends up harming you further and keeping you down in the hole of depression.
yeah, it's creating also like, especially when we talk about entities and attachments, it's creating an entire story architecture of the world being a sort of dangerous place with all these things external that can get you and
Right.
boogeymen. And that's not really the case unless that's the story of life that you want to live. And then, yeah, you'll have a lot of that. But what I do with sound healing is I get tuning forks, and we do this even remotely. So that's interesting. We can maybe talk about that too.
Interesting.
But I lay the person down on a table and I address aspects of their field within the 6 foot bubble space of their aura, roughly approximately 6 feet. And so I get out the forks. I start to sweep from the outer edge of their field with the fork struck. I'm hearing the
Yeah.
tone. I go from the outer edge of the field towards the body. And as I sweep through, there will be, you could call it snags. I hit pockets of distorted, compartmentalized, dissonant, simply put, dirty electricity. And that's an important element to this whole thing is dirty electricity, because that's really what the beings are that we consider to be the demonic and the
Wow.
negative influences.
That's interesting.
It can be simplified down to dirty electricity, like kind of not unlike what comes off most of the tech and even the wires in our walls and shit like
Right.
that.
Right.
So when we know what EMF, we both know Matt Landman, we know
Yes.
what EMF has going on. Now that all has solutions too. And that's another conversation topic, how to ground the ether in your space and bust the dissonant field and turn it into, like, get it to harmonize. And it's a lot simpler than people would think. I don't even, I don't know why we can't talk about the solutions, why we always have to talk about like, this is what
We
that
can
is.
talk about solutions, man. Here.
no,
Yeah.
no, I know here we
Okay. Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We will. Well,
Okay.
depending on what we have time for. So to get back to working in someone's personal energy field, which is a bioelectric or bioplasma field. And plasma, just so people understand, it's not like, hot gas or something. Plasma, by the proper definition, is actually energy in flow. It is the
Like lightning.
flow of the energy itself. So
Yeah.
it doesn't have, it's like if you understand reality to be this wave particle duality, plasma is energy that's on the wave side of this pendulum. So there's not particles per se, there's not a physical thing there, but there's this movement of energy and this pattern of how energy moves, that is what you would call plasma. So whenever I'm sweeping through their bubble space, if you will, I'm interacting with the plasma, and I'm even creating plasma off the fork, because the vibrational energy is the same as light. Vibration and sound are light. It's all the same thing on different levels of the perception spectrum.
Hmm.
Whether you hear it or see it, or feel it, it just depends on where it is on that spectrum. So that's like lightning creates thunder, but it's the same thing. It's the same energy that happened that
Interesting.
gives us that experience of both the light, the flash, and the sound. So with tuning forks, although what we perceive of it is just the sound coming off of the vibrating fork, or
Right.
maybe we see the vibration too, that's actually emitting light as well. So this light is coming because these forks are constructed I use solfeggio, and that's interesting. We can talk about solfeggio frequencies, maybe, depending on what we have time for. And solfeggio tones are coherent and balanced frequencies that allow your body to self-tune, or it self-tunes the ether of your body, or the auric energy, the bioplasma. Any of these words apply. Ether may be the simplest term for people. We have ether, that we contain ether in our auric field and in our bodies. And there's a most important thing about this ether bubble is the outer membrane of it, the sheath, the etheric sheath that holds that energy. And this is where we allow vampires to puncture our field, or other things puncture, all the Satanists or the vampires, whatever you want to call them, they're all about puncturing. They're all about penetrating.
Right. Yeah.
But you have to allow it. And there's many dynamics psychologically that are common to humanity and have been for a while, implanted in us from religion and government, in terms of the mentality of being the savior for everybody else and sacrificing yourself for the collective,
Right.
that really open
The
us
way that
up.
Jesus did.
Well, the way that we have the story of Jesus dogmatically told to us. Yeah.
That's what I meant when I just said it in one sentence.
Yeah. And I got to be careful around that one, because I'm totally with you that the way that Jesus is interpreted is so off. Like, oh, he allowed himself to be killed by the
I love the
crowd. So
idea.
that's like the ultimate hero would be the one that self-sacrifices for the collective. Well, to like just really simply kibosh that idea, if everybody sacrificed themselves for the collective, then we're all dead.
There's no collective anymore.
So good luck with that mindset. Exactly. But if we all come to the party with a full cup, then it's going to be a good party. Right. And that's the key, is to be a vessel with integrity, that the more, because this ether is source. It is life force energy. It is the self-existing, self-perpetuating cosmos itself. The creative intelligence of all reality is this light that we hold as a vessel. And so whenever we get in integrity, and sound healing helps with that, and I can go more into depth about how this works, but when we get ourselves into that coherence, and we're not leaking psychic energy, we're not feeding others our light, we become basically like a lantern. Because the more of this energy we're holding, the more presence that we bring to any place or any person that we're at. And just by being there in our presence, radically ourselves, others see themselves more clearly, and they see where they're at more clearly. And we don't even have to do anything. Right. We don't have to give them anything. We don't have to feed them our selfhood. We don't have to self-sacrifice. Now, there may be gifts that we learn that we have to share, but the key to the gifts that we should be sharing is that your true gifts, your real reason for existing on the realm, those gifts are easy to give, and you never run out. Right. And that's the key.
And it's fun to do. It's like, right. Like the way,
it's so fun.
Yeah. Like the way that an artist has to create. It's just part of you. Like you have to do it. Like you were saying, you're sad when those years that you weren't making art, you know what I mean? It affected you. And to be the light is to do the thing that, like what you're here to do is what you will be enjoying, your bliss, and then others will be able to feel the bliss as well. You know what I mean? You'll radiate that. I get what you're saying. Exactly.
Yeah. The best way to help the people around you is to just live the best life that you can, be the best version of yourself you can. Yes. But how do you be a better version of yourself? That's always been the mystery for people. And the key is actually stop leaking all this psychic energy, because it becomes a two-way street. If you have all these holes and you have a porous aura, then not only can vampiric energies puncture in and take what they want out of you, but you're also just like whatever you put into that, container just falls out too. So and because it's in a shape of distortion and dissonance, then what's falling out of you around everyone is all your shit. So, it comes out psychologically in what you call projection, and how people that are really spun out, they see what they hate about themselves in everybody else, and they're constantly judging and blaming everyone, when really that's what you're like. What are you doing? And we get out of that by sealing up these holes in our field. And it may be an instantaneous process, but I do know that I think that it's mostly mental. Like the mind is actually what creates the field dynamic itself. And if we related the mind, then it can turn it around really fast.
Is it related to confidence and your self-confidence? Does that help to heal these holes?
Big time. But healing the holes will improve your self-esteem, and knowing that self-esteem matters and retraining yourself how you talk to yourself about yourself also is a big deal.
Right. How do you have any tips for maintaining the integrity of your auric field, of the lining wall, so that they can't penetrate anymore? Is there practices that we can do?
There are a lot of things to it. There's visualizations that you can get into. Like visualizations are cool, to give yourself because this is all a mental plane that's projecting an etheric pattern,
Right.
right? So if you want to practice daily, or if you feel like you've been juiced by a vampire, practice the idea of creating like a electric bluish purple barrier shield around yourself. That can be helpful. You also, though, have to just get serious about boundaries. Really, really
Okay.
serious about boundaries, because it's
With
your
other people and how you deal with them. Is that what you mean?
with people, with jobs, with relationships,
Right.
with what,
Right.
yeah, because guess what? What you accept is what you get. It's that
Yeah,
easy. It's
that's
that
true.
simple.
That's
And
right.
because the universe is actually always responding to your intention, when you set radical boundaries in self-love
Right.
that are what you need and what's best for you, and that's your main consideration, the entire world around you will restructure itself to honor
Right.
those boundaries, and it will happen
Yeah.
fast. Like, you
Yeah.
won't even
Yeah. Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah. 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 That's
Like,
great.
at the point where I decided my boundary is now that I'm not going to work doing jobs that I don't feel fulfilled in or that drain me. And even though I thought before I needed those jobs to make money, I
Right.
said, okay, I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm going to start offering sound healing services to people as a way to compensate from not having those other jobs, because it's something I feel passionate about. I enjoy doing.
Right.
It's good for me. And at that point, not only did clients just start showing up, but it was like a nonstop flow of clients where, because I
Yeah.
set that boundary, all of a sudden, I let go
Right.
of what I was holding on to, and now my hands were open and something else can come into my hands.
Yes. That's wonderful. That is
So when
like
you
how
take the leap of faith,
synchronicity.
you can't fly till you take the leap of faith. And
Yeah.
when you are
Yeah.
doing what you're here to do, or what is best, most moral or good, unseen forces for sure come to your aid in the form
That's
of
right.
other people or even inspiration. It's
That's right.
nonstop.
That's right. I've always believed that just jump off and the universe will be there under your feet. You don't have to worry about it. And um like that synchronicity has to work like that. If you're grinding against the powers of nature that are bringing you one way, and you're trying to do this thing that it's all swimming upstream, and if you let go, you'll find yourself on the shore of some place that you couldn't even imagine, and it's way better than you ever thought. And you know the as you said, the universe does work with you, um and it seems to organize itself as long as you're is love if love is there at the helm of your directions, and you're not like being guided by fear, then it will open up like that. And the fear is what separates you from that synchronicity, I guess.
So what you just said is key, that love
Mm.
has to be at the helm, but we got to understand love. You can only love one thing. And this is like a real difficult issue for human beings on the planet lately and for a while. And here it is. I'm just going to lay it out like it is. Self is truth, is love, is infinite, is creator, is God, is all of those things. So what I said first, self is love. That means the only type of love is self-love. And that means that if you love yourself radically, then you'll be able to express what we have erroneously called love towards other beings. But what it'll come out as is care. Care is
Right.
what we really gauge how we feel about others by how well we care about them or care for them. But if we want to have the throughput and the juice to actually care, then we have to have given ourselves the juice. So we
Right.
have to love ourselves. That's the only kind of love that exists. And when you do love yourself, it's easy to care for others, because self is the same in all being, in
Right.
all universe. So you love yourself, that means you love them too. You love all of humanity. But if
Right.
you're just like, you're down on you and you don't see yourself as supreme being, and you think I'm obligated to love all these other people, but you're not even getting the love, self isn't getting the love, well,
Right.
you're not giving them shit either. You're giving them poison too, because the self that they are is the same as the self that you are. And if you're not giving self love, then
Right.
good luck. Good luck. And that's the grind that humanity's been on for a while. And it's a really simple perspective flip
Right.
needed. But so the key there is that, to go back to your question of how do we seal up the holes in a leaky aura in our psychic realm, would
Right.
be, think of things electrically for sure. I mean, electric health is the buzzword, electric universe, electric health. Eileen McCusick's book, I already mentioned, Electric Body, Electric Health is the name of it. Incredible primer on the whole subject with a lot of scientific gravy in there too. Now, she talks a lot about sound healing and metaphysical woo-woo stuff like chakras, but it's all grounded in actual research about the electrical nature of biology. So there's a cool passage near the end of that book with like 15 practices to increase your voltage, and just go over a few of them. A, allow yourself enough sleep. B, literally get grounded, like put your feet on the ground of the actual earth, and eat healthy food that's not poisonous. It's really simple, basic stuff.
Right.
Show yourself love. And these are different things that, like, your rudder for life is simply, did what I just do make me feel more stoked and more alive and more energetic and more aware, or less? And that's it. It's a simple yes or no. And you
Right.
go towards what is fun and what gives you more excitement and energy and awareness.
Right.
And if you follow that pathway, you're going to do great and you're going to show yourself love. But the key first, you have to open up the possibility that you are supreme being,
Right.
and that you do not just deserve love, but literally the self that you are is love. So whenever you deny yourself love, you're denying that you even fucking exist, because self is that. It's all the same energy. Love is all that exists, like new age woo-woo people will say, but they totally miss the point of self equals love. And that's the equation you have to balance before you're ever going to get anywhere in life that is
Right.
beyond slavery to externals.
Interesting. So that self-love automatically increases the self-confidence and the self-esteem, and then you have more power to be in the world, and then
And then you're expanding, and it just keeps going.
and you're radiating it at that point, and then others are inspired, and
They see
and
you and they're like,
yeah.
maybe I have permission to be the shit too.
Yeah.
And we can all be awesome.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's great. I love that, dude. That's fucking fantastic. Thank you for doing that for us. So let's
So to get into the entity thing, let's wrap up, maybe not wrap up, but like make a few points about that. So
sure.
like entity attachment, demonic possession, infestation, schizophrenia, all of these
Right.
ideas. Okay, so because this etheric energy or life force energy is electricity, and electricity can be a balanced, coherent frequency, like what you call solfeggio, or like clean, or it can be dirty electricity. You get, whenever you have these distortions in your energy field and compartmentalization, you can look at that chi or that electricity as stagnant, like water in a pond that's not going anywhere, and it just putrefies and gets nastier and nastier. So life force energy takes on the attributes or the shape of its container, just like water is the shape of the cup that it's in. And water is a good metaphor in this sense because of the way that it stagnates as well. So this being life force energy and light is conscious in itself. Like your level of consciousness is what you can feel and what you're aware of. That's all consciousness is feeling, perception, awareness. That means that a compartmentalized energy bubble or vortex or stagnant pond in your field somewhere is going to take on the quality and shape of how it's shaped. So that means if it's, say, off to the left of you to off to the left, and it's like 5 feet away, and it is about the same level as your root chakra, for example, then that could come in terms of what this entity that is now inside of your bubble field is like. It could come in as like something that threatens your security, makes you feel unsafe at home, even can lead to the level of like actually external world situations where you live with somebody that's violent and scary, right? So not only does this demon in your field, which is just a divided part of self that's fragmented off from the rest of yourself, but it has its own consciousness, and because it's not integrated to your total consciousness and to your central channel of circulating energy, it has to be like its own little goblin in there,
It has to
and it's
vampire.
whispering in your ear, and it's telling you
Right.
why you're not safe. And Now this has nothing to do with like actual external energy or etheric beings, because that exists too, because like I said, the whole ether is conscious. And so there's different shapes and containers the ether can get into, and even non-physical containers or patterns of etheric energy. And we call that Jinn. We call them, they're the smokeless fire. Smokeless fire is just electricity. It's fire that, you know, it doesn't burn in the same way, but is still spirit or fire. It's ether. So that all exists too. And that's a whole different can of worms that we're interacting with and trying to interface with and figure out, well, who's the bad ones, what are the good ones, what's our role with this? And like we opened the floodgates to them a long time ago, and for good or ill, that's the journey we're on, and it's influenced society massively. But in terms of getting right within yourself and whatever feels like it's in you, and that devil on your shoulder whispering shit in your ear, that that is actually little pockets of compartmentalized, putrefied, like pungent, nasty energy that's in your field. And so we can smooth those tangles out with Biofield tuning, or, you know, tuning fork, aura mechanic stuff, because the way that life force energy works and frequencies work is that dissonant frequency patterns will adhere to coherent patterns if they are in proximity to each other. All you need as an example for this, what is frequency? It is how many times something happens in a pattern, in a rhythm, right? So a metronome is a frequency. And I don't know if you've seen this before, but if you get a room full of metronomes and you start them all at different times and
they
come back,
syncopate.
Come back later, they sync up.
Yeah.
Your body is your energy field, your body itself is a self-tuning instrument. So if you put the coherent tone in there, your body will adapt to that coherence. It's thirsty for it. It wants it.
I found that in drum circles where like one drum can take the lead and then all of the rest like kind of follow. Like it's
that's awesome.
Yeah. So the biofield tuning and the sound healing can help, but also self-love in every way that you can are also ways to bolster your power, your own inner love that can be radiated out again. So
and the trick about self-love is that sometimes what we hide from ourselves, we hide it well. The thing is, since it's like unconscious, that means we're literally not aware of it. And that's why it can help to have somebody come in and do the technician work with you, like what I do, because you might just not realize that there's still some stagnant chi in that zone, even if it's something that you've addressed before. If it's a major pattern, like a recent client, I'm telling you, it's so weird. It sounds like the most unbelievable thing, but I'm sweeping the fork through his field and I just realized, oh, his dad had a violent divorce from his mom when he was a kid. And it was very angry and very violent and influenced him for the rest of his life. And I'm still over here like, how do I ask, like, did this happen after the session? And I actually like drew a tarot card just to be sure. And I got the Emperor upside down and I was like, okay, that's angry dad. I got it. And yeah, so I use multiple tools just to like, sometimes if I really need to double check myself, but it never really works out that way. I don't know how, but it's like your ether reads their ether with the fork as the interface or something. And as I'm sweeping through the field in that spot, it pops into my head. And maybe partly because my unconscious has the awareness of the area of the field I'm at, relating to certain things in the person's life and emotional history. So that I just get the clue of when I hit that pocket of distortion, then like my body, the intelligence of my system is able to like intuitively then send the message to brain or to awareness of, okay, here's what it is. And so I'm just like, how do I know this? Why am I thinking this? But then I ask, did this happen? Or is this something that you're like or whatever? And they say, yeah. And it's pretty much always dead on. It kind of freaks you out at first, but I've learned to just go with it.
Trust it.
Yeah. And so whenever we're able to get that external communication to help us see something about ourselves, then now we see it, and then it's on at that point. Like you can integrate that if you want. And then I'll follow up the sessions with divination using I Ching and tarot, and we'll go into a deep spread and look at how that particular oracle comes out for them and because it's all about like, it doesn't matter what I do with somebody in the sound healing. If after that they just go right back to the old pattern and mindset that they had before,
Right. They'll
then it'll
stay
be as
there.
if we did nothing.
Right.
The key, it's like the mindset shift is the most important thing, but you have to change the energy configuration in your field before the mindset shift can happen, because
Right.
this energy in your field is your mind. It's where your electrical bioplasma system is where memory is at. It's where emotion exists. It's everything about you. And the body is the vessel for that. So,
Right.
yeah, it's amazing. This is the new this is the new medicine. I mean, there'll be
Wow.
other ways to do a similar thing. You could even use your voice, honestly,
Mm.
if you were confident like that. But the key is to know that we have this energetic anatomy, and that that's actually the framework that the physical is built on, not the other way around. That
Right.
your body is literally in your mind, not your mind in your body. Key information right there.
Huh. That's beautiful. So so when we're born, do we have the most of the undivided power that they can feed on? Is that why they attack the youth so much? Maybe not the people, but I mean, I guess like a newborn baby, does that have the most loosh, if you will, for the entities to drain, or are the entities are all particle parts of that self, so the baby wouldn't have wouldn't have any demons attacking because demons are itself, you know? I
It's
guess.
a tricky question to
Yeah,
answer,
yeah,
but
sorry.
I actually lately think the most key component to this whole question is the placenta.
Okay.
So
Can you
when you look
explain?
at placenta next to like the conceptualizations of the tree of life,
Right.
it looks like the tree of life. So
Yeah.
this placenta has all the genetic information of you and mom, and all the ancestral, you know, immunity information,
Right.
and all the things that would be passed through physical medium or energetically. Because
Right.
okay, a key thing to understand here about this wave particle duality that we exist in is that that duality is in our mind, and that actually matter is spiritual and spirit is material. There's not really a difference. This is just everything's energy. And that's why once you realize that the universe is all energy and frequency, that the only thing that you have control over at all is your own energy. And you start managing that, like I said, steering towards what gives you more energy
Right.
and makes you feel more alive. And that's your only real compass or rudder that you need. So, because our consciousness, if you will, this ether, does take on the shape and identity of its container, then that would mean, this is opinion, I guess, but in
Hmm.
my opinion, then placenta actually has an identity. You could consider it your divine twin.
Hmm.
Actually, like I think it's even encoded in the astrological story of the zodiac, because you have Taurus, which is like the mother, is the Venus. It's where
Right.
like things are born, and Aries brings the seed
Right.
of the seed, if you will,
Right.
actually. And then the next thing that comes in is Taurus, the mother, giving birth to the divine twins of Gemini,
Hmm.
and the twins are then cut in two by the pincers of Cancer. There's a cut,
Right.
and so in the story of when baby is born, placenta is cut before it would naturally fall off, and
Right.
this twin of ours, it's literally our twin because it
Right.
shares our DNA
Right.
identically. It's in a maritime sense, maritime
Right.
admiralty law sense, it's the vessel you came in on. It's the
Right.
boat you came in on. It's a dish.
The whole and the
It's a
Holy
plate that you're
See,
served on.
like the Holy See of the Catholic Church, they try to take those placentas. That's the second born that has no soul.
They're
And
hijacking your ship. They're pirates.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And like the firstborn has the name and is the person, but the secondborn, that's what they attach the fake name to, with the capital letters name for your false identity. They like
You're already nailing it.
somehow,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
seeing how
yeah,
this connects already.
right. Yeah, there's like a legal way that they connect the two, and because there's no soul, they can do with it what they want. And so it's really, and it's weird. Like we had our son at a Catholic birthing center, and I made sure to take the placenta home. I was like, no, you can't have that thing. And we buried it on her parents' land, and it's like
That's the
safe.
move.
Right, right. Yeah.
I think
So,
that's a better move even than eating it, but I don't know.
right.
I mean, I'm not saying don't eat it
Well,
because
I
maybe
think,
that's maybe if
I
you honor
mean,
it,
the
that's what
Native
matters.
the Native Americans would bury
All
it.
mammals eat it actually, besides us.
Yeah,
Placentophagy is common to mammals.
right. That's interesting. Yeah, and the Scientologists eat it too. but but I mean,
I think the fucking
I,
Satanists eat the placentas that they get
right,
delivered from the hospitals in the biological waste container.
probably.
And so here, let me get into this a little more,
Yeah,
right? So
please.
if this placenta is your twin and it's a vessel for life force energy that has the exact same DNA as you, so there's a frequency syncopation between you and it.
Right.
And then what happens to it is like horrible, torturous, scary isolation and separation from mother and from its brother or sister. Then there's a memory echo imprint in that ether of the placenta that then is now out in the field of the larger reality, and that thing has been traumatized just the same as what would happen to you if you were traumatized. And
Right.
so this
There's
actually
a
becomes,
connection. Right, right, right.
so this spirit of this placenta actually becomes like the, has the option to become like the devil on your shoulder in a sense, because it's connected to you, it's traumatized, it does is lacking self-love or self-awareness. And there's a concept in, like, for example, there's a concept in the Middle Eastern religions called the Karen or the Karen, which is considered to be a type of jinn that basically watches everything that you do and reports it back to the demiurge, and and is also giving you like whispering the bad things in your ear, like you suck, you should, like, you know, smoke cigarettes or get
Right.
really drunk or whatever the case may be. Now, I this is personal theory. I think this Karen is the divine twin that has been corrupted and turned to the dark side by all the trauma that was done to it and the lack of awareness of our connection to it. Because
Mm-hmm.
we are the bridge. We can re-bridge ourselves back to the divine twin of the placenta or the spirit of our guardian or our ship. And I honestly think this is related to how we create the light vessel of the Merkaba. That first we need to know that we had the ship, even though the placenta is going to fall off and expire or be buried. And I think burying it is smart because it's connecting you to the land. You're
Right,
literally on the land instead of lost at sea.
right.
The energy of placenta, the ether that it held as a vessel, still exists, and it still has the pattern of resonance of your DNA and of all the experiences that happen to it, and thus it's connected to you. And so for everyone out there listening, if you have, you know, the inclination, maybe do some sort of ceremony of honoring and recognizing this divine twin of yours, and just set the intention while, you know, now that we're talking about loving ourselves, since we are now intending to love ourselves, remember that this is a part of yourself that you didn't have the option at birth to decide to keep or to honor. So honor it now, recognize your connection to it now. And I believe that this can transform the energy of our twin from
Mm.
being the corrupted, fallen state to being actually the angel on your shoulder, a spiritual guide, a divine messenger. And
Wow.
I get messages from a divine messenger all the time. That's, you know, maybe that's the spirit of my placenta. Maybe it's some other thing. Maybe it's what they call Hermes. But what does Hermes or Mercury rule? Rules Gemini,
Right,
divine messenger.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's your divine twin. I think that there's
Mercury.
something very important to that. And whenever I examine the classical tradition of art and literature and scripture with this lens, I see it everywhere. I see it
Right.
everywhere, from the flying saucer, which is a plate, it's a disc, it's a
Hmm.
vessel, to the plate that they put John the Baptist head on,
Huh.
who was Jesus Christ's twin,
Right, right.
at least in the occult.
And then
And
they had the
The Templars even worship John the Baptist or honor John the Baptist over Jesus oftentimes, and related Templar orgs and offshoots do.
right.
So I think that this symbolism is replete, but you need the decoder ring to understand that it's referring to not just this. There's the beauty of the classical tradition and
There's many
anagogical
levels
interpretation.
of esoteric knowledge
Many
within. Yeah,
levels.
yeah, yeah.
But just think about how much is related to vessels, and that we're vessels, that actually the word classic or classical has so many meanings wrapped up in that one word. Classic art, classic literature is also the canon literature, the CNN, the Canaan, the Canaanites.
Right.
Like if you take the verbs out or the vowels out of words,
Yeah.
and then look at other words that have those same consonants, you will make connections that are real, legit connections.
Right.
So the classics also refers to classes of society, like the noble class. The noble class is also the naval class, and the naval class refers to those born of a boat, born of a vessel, like the angelic sailors that descended upon the realm and then bred with human women to create the Nephilim bloodlines or the royal house bloodlines. But the navel also refers to the belly button, the navel, your connection to source. And then not only that, but the classic refers to classis in Latin, refers to different styles of ships, vessels in naval military structure. So there's just in that one word, you have art and literature that has encoded secret meanings. You have stratification classes of society. You have the actual boats themselves and the vessels themselves, and you have the classified tradition or the classified secrets of the state. Classified. So that one word right there, we've got all the meanings that tell you everything. What's classified? What's classified is your connection, your naval connection to source, the boat you came in on, your ship that is also your light ship, because once it's no longer your physical divine twin, it still exists in the ether in whatever form you left it in. So you need to know, like, if you ever wonder, how did I get here? Where's my ship? How did I crash land on this planet? You have a ship, but you need to find it again. And the thing is, it never left. You deserted it.
Right. Do you think, like, so when they take the placenta and they use it for their cosmetics or whatever the fuck they do,
and they use it for cosmetics, damn, yeah, it's so ridiculous.
Sorry, I mean, well, they do the same thing with foreskins. I mean, it's just disgusting.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's all about creating the persona, the mask.
Oh yeah, that too. Shit.
That's why they're so obsessed with putting people in masks right now. It's just another level of the symbolism of covering up self from the world.
And
hiding self from self.
And slaves wear masks, and
slaves wear masks.
Yeah. It's so ironic and all the many levels. It's just keep peeling the onion, you know. It's great. This is great. So I guess where have we've kind of gone everywhere. We didn't really get too much into hospital births besides placenta. Do you have
to me that's the most important thing about hospital births that hasn't been said much, because I mean, like, the information about what happens in hospital, horrific things, is all there. The people who can help you if you're going to be a parent, to know how to stand in your rights and to create the agreements with the hospital before you go in, or maybe even just find a midwife. What I think right now, the beauty of the medical mafia falling apart is that you have all the opportunity in the world for midwives to come back into the scene. Like, oh, you don't have a job right now, you need a job. We need people to help us birth humans into the world in a non-traumatized, non-divided way. And then who knows what will happen if we create a bunch of beings where their divine twin is already working properly as soon as they come on. Like, like your kid, you buried placenta on the land. Huge honoring process just by doing that.
And it's the family land. It's not going to be like sold off to somebody, you know. It's really, and that's the Native Americans would do that to protect the placenta. And then if the placenta is undisturbed, then the child is undisturbed, you know. And if the thing gets dug up and eaten by coyotes, then the kid is going to have this tortured life, you know. So that's why I was thinking, when
the key is, though, no matter what happened to your placenta, you're not screwed. It's like everything can be healed with awareness. Nature is a self-repairing system, and you are nature. But to repair, nature needs to know what's broken. And that's what all the interference that we receive is, so that we don't see ourselves clearly. Think about, like, if you ever stub your toe really bad, it hurts like hell. In the natural reaction, maybe not natural, but the program reaction we have is to be like, oh no, and try to ignore the pain. But actually, if you just put your mind right on the pain is information that's drawing your awareness to a thing that needs attention. And attention is your spiritual currency or energy.
Right.
You're sending energy to a part that needs healing whenever you focus in on the pain. So
Right.
another way of saying that whatever the challenges are in your life, the obstacles are the course. You don't run the 200-meter dash by avoiding the hurdles. You go
Right.
straight at the hurdles and jump over them. And that's how
Yeah.
we should treat our life. But if we don't have the electrical integrity, if we don't honor selfhood, if we don't become pure vessels for the life force energy, then we don't have the throughput to get over the hurdle.
Right.
And we
And
just
then we'll be
bang our
afraid of
face
the
into the wall.
hurdles. Yeah.
And then we become afraid of the hurdles and we
Yeah.
avoid them and we try to sit still in stasis. But there's no stasis in nature. There's just stagnation or expansion. Those are your
Right.
choices.
Right. Because change is happening. Time is going. We can't just stay in one place.
The
Like,
book of changes is happening. And are you
Right.
going to align with the Tao or are you going to fall apart at the seams?
that's great. I love that. So they can, how can people find you for having sessions? Like, where are you located? Do they have to be locals, or
I could do it
can
with people locally, but there's not a lot of local people that listen to me on
Right.
the internet, as far as I know. I
Right.
feel like they would hit me up if they did.
Well,
'Cause
where do you, I mean, can our audience contact you if they wanted to have healing sessions? Is that available
Absolutely.
on your podcast?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, there's a contact
Right,
form
the
in there. You can hit me up on Telegram, or you can just straight up email me, chance@innerversepodcast.com. As of now, I haven't set up like a store for
Sure.
that because honestly, I have hesitation to do that because if I set it up through Square or PayPal payments and I'm listing what
Then
it
they're
is,
looking at
and
you.
they're like, hey, you can't do this. This is
Give us taxes, right?
or not just taxes. Like
Yeah.
I've heard of healers straight up having PayPal and Square and payment systems like that revoke access to it because they're like, this is risky business. But if people are just emailing me directly, we set up the session outside of that whole commerce thing.
Donations.
Personal donation
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
gift of time. Yeah.
Right,
and then
right.
that exchange is totally different. And
Yes.
also it means that if someone wants to do the session with me, they're motivated to seek out, connecting with me and communicating with me to do it. And like,
Right. And then
it
you
helps
have a
because
real
you want
connection.
people to
You
be
don't want to.
serious about this process. If
Yeah.
you just came in, and this is why you have to charge money for it. Like if someone right now, it's I ask for $150 for the hour and a half long session, and if that sounds like some people would be like that's too much, that's because they're not ready to invest. But investing is part of what makes it work.
Right.
If you have
Because
an
it shows
energetic
how much you
investment in it,
care for
it
it.
means that means you're going to care a lot about making sure
Right.
it was worth it. And
Right.
I don't want to half-ass this thing, and I don't want people coming to me half-assed. And I respect myself and my time, and I know that that's what I need for the
Right.
time. And also, if someone gives that much for the time, then what they receive
They
will be
deserve
valuable to
they
them, and
deserve
they
all
won't
of your
just
effort.
yeah. And if I just did it for free, then the thing that would happen next is they'd be like, that didn't work at all because it didn't mean anything to them. So they have no reason to not just go back to the old pattern.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we have to have that exchange. Nature's about reciprocity,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth it. I've got great testimonials that at least maybe I'll put those on the website someday. The testimonials.
That's great. That'd be wonderful. And I'd like to hear more about your your adventures in learning how to do the sound healing and like how you've grown in your abilities. Maybe we can have another show about that.
I'd love to come back. This has been
That'd be
fun.
interesting. Oh, great. That's great. Do you have anything that you'd like to say to our audience before you? Is there anything that we missed that you'd like that's within your heart and you want to just say it out before we're done?
It's a catchphrase of mine. All right. Listen, you can live your life this way. I want to put it on a t-shirt someday.
Nice.
If it ain't a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Oh,
That's how you set your boundaries.
like
Try
that.
it. Try it. It works.
I like that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for your. This has been like, I mean, this has been quite an interesting conversation. Like every sentence was like on fire, and I'm glad that I was here listening to it. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence, and thank you again, Matt Landman, for connecting us.
Matt doesn't even know I do this shit.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll send him the copy. I'll send him a file.
Okay.
That's good. Yeah. So God bless you, man. And please, people, visit innerversepodcast.com and see all of the work that Chance here has to offer you, and learn and explore, and send some emails and contact him. And I think that's great. I think everybody needs to, if you have this interest in this thing inside you, and you feel the need, you want to go speak to these people, go there. Go, like, the beauty of the internet is you can
I'm a
contact
real
us.
person.
Yeah, you're a real
you can talk to
person.
me.
That's right. So that's beautiful.
I got one more plug I want to make too.
Oh, please. Yeah.
So there's a YouTube channel called Weaving Spiders Welcome. And on Saturday nights and Wednesday nights, we get together, symposium style conversations. Saturdays are the main show. And this is just like the total synchromistic magic that we really like when we're looking into metaphysical, conspiratorial, spiritual rabbit holes. Weaving Spiders Welcome, super awesome channel.
Okay.
I go on there as often as I can as one of the sort of recurring co-hosts. And on Wednesdays, we do a show called Flow State that is right after my Vibe Rant Wednesday night show. That Flow State is all about creating. So we all like put our cameras on whatever we're drawing or sculpting or crafting.
Oh, nice.
And then we take turns reading from books or poems, or just talking about subjects that come up from the reading.
Do you guys?
And so it's about activating the left and right brain in balance by taking in the information and creating at the same time. And it's awesome.
Beautiful.
So Weaving Spiders Welcome. They're a great channel. I want people to know about them too. And Innerverse Podcast, there's so much that you can dive into. I did 52 episodes this year. They're all 2+ hours long.
Wow.
Really want people to check out. And a lot of my audience already has. The last episode I did with David Whitehead about the cult of the medics, his new documentary series, getting to the roots of the medical gang mafia and how it actually goes way back into antiquity, related to some of the darkest cults that humanity has ever generated. Right. Or maybe humanity didn't generate these cults, back to the question of the jinn. So there's great. Like a huge variety of information from all corners of possibility on my channel. Great. And I'm never been more excited about it. And I hope people do go dive in, especially the stuff of, I'm always most excited about the most recent month of content. So like get in there and check it out.
That's great. Yeah, I feel the same way with my own work. It's like, you're always so proud of your art. You know what I mean? And with your art show of Flow State, do you guys critique each other on the work? Do you help each other with your process?
No, we just do our thing, and then like
you just show it, and then that's it. Because like, it's really like, I find the critique with other artists is very helpful for yourself. They see what you don't see, and they help you to accentuate what you want.
I'm going to tell them that on the Flow State, that, hey, let's be open to critiquing each other honestly, because I think that it's a lot of like fluffy feel good stuff, but you know, like healthy egos can accept constructive criticism and give it. And I think that's definitely crucial and missing. We need that.
Yeah, that's how you grow.
But also art, technically there's like no wrong answers unless you didn't achieve what you wanted to achieve. Right.
But if they know what you're trying to achieve, they can help you get there. Maybe if they're, if they have their talents in their certain field of art that you haven't expressed so much, and they can help it. Like, if they love and respect you, then whatever they say can't be bad. You know what I mean? They're trying to help you. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I'll bring that up. Like, we've only been in Flow State for about a month, and I imagine it will grow and evolve as it goes. Sometimes it just turns into like a Weaving Spiders episode, and we just discuss the whatever our research is. It's like we have this whole community of, I would call us researchers, synchromystics, whatever, and we align and give each other the cliff notes on the things we've been diving into, and see how it all connects to each other. And all of us expand a lot faster because we have each other. So get on our Telegram channels. Weaving Spiders has a Telegram. Innerverse has a Telegram. We even have a daily practice art group where we share our daily practice of art, with the idea that even if you've only got time, 15, 20 minutes a day to get in there and make some progress on whatever you're creating, that accumulates way faster than 0 a day. And you'd be surprised where you can get with a little bit of effort, sustained burst.
That's right.
Consistently.
And it'll help you be proud of yourself for actually getting something done. Like, even though it was only 15 minutes, it's not nagging you in your head like, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't really need to, you got this idea that's just like, oh, I gotta do that, but I'm too busy with these chores and I gotta go to work and like whatever. So yeah, it helps to get it out, like get it on paper, make the thing, do the thing, be
And
the
thanks for
artist.
having me, man. This has been super fun.
Oh, nice, man. I'm honored to have you, and I'm very glad that you did. And thank you. This is great. And we'll keep talking, and I'd like to hear more about what you're thinking about in the future. We'll do this again sometime.
There's always something fresh. Even when I cover topics I've talked about before, there's new info every time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, keep grinding grinding that onion peels away and see if there's ever a center.
Nope, it's infinite
Yeah, it
layers.
seems to be. Yeah. Cheers, brother. Thank you so much for joining us on Wake the Dead.
Much love.
Awesome. Wake the Dead has its own line of fine art t-shirts. Fine art photographic prints you can wear. More designs are being added all the time. Available at storefrontier.com/Auctoritas Illusio. Here you will also find many classic designs like Gadsden's Sweet Leaf, Anarchy Pyramid, and 3%er Phoenix, made to engage people with constructive conversations. Help support Wake the Dead while buying creative art at the same time. storefrontier.com/Auctoritas Illusio, spelled AUCTORITASILLUSIO. Thank you.